Hi everyone, I'm here to show you a little bit of how I've made true pagination server-side rendered with Svelte and Sapper. First of all, well, I have the server running here and another terminal here to just input some commands. And here I have a plain new Sapper installation. I've tweaked some things a little bit and added some code because this code is to be repeated whenever you're implementing something similar to pagination. So you see that here, well, I have the normal Sapper installation, but instead of having the plain posts on post.js here, I've added dates, and there's a little bit of code below that I'm going to show you right now. So what exactly do you need to make a paginated blog? First you need posts, of course, and Sapper comes with some sample posts. As you see here, this is the app running, and you need some code to just chunk these posts into pages so that you can render one page with maybe 3 posts and the other posts in subsequent pages. So what I've done here is I've added this date here, and below here I've added the code that is needed for us to just paginate the posts. So for example, the first thing I do is, up to here, this is just Sapper. This is not my code at all. So first of all, I added a constant for page size. You can just put 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, so that you don't have, for example, if you have 50 posts, you don't have them all in one page. You have them divided into pages of 3, 4, 5 posts, for example. I've created this order post by date here, which is just a sorting of this array by this date that I've added here. So I've implemented this ordered post, passing posts to this function. Here I have order posts. Then I paginate them with this function here. This function here is half mine, half Stack Overflow. So it's just something that makes, well, you currently have like a list of objects, right? You have something like this. Each object is a post. But what we want is something more like a list of lists. So we have like 3 posts here and 2 posts here, for example. So you have a list of lists with posts inside. That's the idea. So that you can just render this in one page, render this in another. So yeah, that's what this function here does. It just picks up the posts and use the page size to calculate what are the chunks, what are the pages. We have as well a number of pages, which is just the length of this array, because this array is going to have arrays inside. So if we have, for example, 2 or 3 pages, this is going to be 2 or 3, for example. And we have 2 more things. One is another constant called page range. So for example, let's say that we have 5 pages. So when you're rendering the pagination component, you want to put like links for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for example. And this is what the page range does. It gets the number of pages and just creates an array, which is, if for example, if it's 5, it's going to be a list with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If it's 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's what this is. And this post by page here, it just receives an index which will be like the page index, so that we can pick up the chunk we want to render by the index from the paginated post. So this is what this code does. I needed to tell you this because this is like the heart of the pagination. The rest is mostly just rendering and picking up data from the server side. So let's start by checking this index.svelte. This is a blog index, which is this page here. So what this is just like Sapper installs. This is just the basic blog index page. Right now it's getting blog.json, which would be this posts here, which are being exported as default here. But we don't want that. We want the first page, right? We want the first chunk of that JSON. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove this fetch here. We're gonna import page posts by page, right? Which is our function that's gonna, given an index, it's gonna return to us the chunk of that list. Import from posts.js, okay? And we're instead of just getting the posts from the JSON, we're just gonna change this to posts by page 0, because this is the first page and that's a list, so it's the first index, which is 0. So as soon as I save here, you see that I have 3 instead of 5 here. And well, if we put 1, it's gonna be the remaining posts. This is what we want here, because this is the home page of the blog, right? But we're gonna need another component to just do, for example, what I'm gonna do is to just blog-page-2, for example, okay? So we're gonna need a component for that. We're gonna do that later, but first of all, we need to render the links, right? Because we need to have like the paginator component down here so that we can just click 1 or 2 and just go to that page. So the first thing we need to do is to import this page range here, which depends on the number of posts and the number of pages, of course. So we're gonna import this here, page range. Okay, we're gonna pass it to the component, page range. Okay, this is the same thing as page range, okay. Then we need to get it from the props. This is how Sapper works, so page range, okay. And then we will need to make a new each down here, each page range as page, for example, and we're gonna render like an A with an href of dash blog dash page dash the number of the page, right? Then we put page here as well. And you're gonna see that we now have 1, 2, because we do have 2 pages. But this is not implemented yet. This is just a 404. We're gonna implement that. But first, I'm gonna need to just show you a little bit what we can do here. For example, we know that this page here, since it's the index, the page number is 1, right? Because it's the first one. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a new prop here called number of page number. Okay, and it's gonna be 1 because it's the first page. This is not this because this is the index of the list and this is the number of the page, like the human readable, right? We're gonna import this as well. Page number, okay? And this is something you can do, for example. Class active is if the page is equal to the page number, right? Because then, and let's just put like a dot active here, just so that we can see color red, and let's put like a padding 0.8 RAM or something, just so that we can see that the first one is the red one and the second one, because we're still on the home of the blog, so this is the first page, so this is active. One thing that I like to do as well is that I like to have the dash blog be my first page, so I don't want this. You see that it's rendering like dash blog dash page dash 1, and I don't really like that, so I'm just gonna put an if here. I know this is a little bit lazy, but this is just a demo, right? If page equals 1, if we are on the first page, we will render this a little bit differently. We're just gonna pass, whoops, just blog, right? We don't need to render the page because the first one is dash blog. But we need an else here, else with this, okay? So then you're gonna see that this is dash blog and this is dash page dash 2. So this is how I like to implement it. I'm just showing that this is easily possible. This is easy to implement. We need to have like the dash page number component, right? How we do that with Sapper, we just create a nested folder here called page, page, okay, with a new component inside here called page number svelte, because whenever this is rendered, Sapper is going to know that page number is whatever you passed on the URL. So for example, page number will be 2. But the thing is, the rendering is going to be almost the same, right? Because this is ready to be used there. We just need to make this 0 and this 1 dynamic, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the whole thing here. I'm gonna create a new component here outside the roots called paginated posts or something. Whoops. Okay, which is just gonna be this, right? Doesn't need to change anything. And what we need to do here is to, instead of rendering everything like this, we just need the paginated posts. But we need to pass these as props because they're gonna be rendered by the server, by the build process, right? So we need to pass posts, and we need to pass page range, and we need to pass page number. Cool. So you're gonna see that the rendering is exactly the same because it's the same rendering. But now that we have this in a separate component, we can just use this in our page number.svelte. The imports are gonna change because this is a nested folder, so it's we need to, posts.js is not here, the component is not here. Posts is here, and the component is here, right? So when we save this and we click on 2, whoops. Well, of course that was going to happen because I just copied and pasted. So this is still 0, this is still 1, right? We need to get this from the URL. The way to do that is that Preload receives an optional argument here, mostly called page. I know it's confusing, but this page here, this object injected here, is the details of that page. It's not like the paginated page. It's just an object about the page. So inside of here, we're going to have the parameters for the URL, for example. So what we're going to need to do here is to just pass, for example, the page number is exactly the page number that's in the URL, right? So we can pick up and just use it, params dot page number. And you're going to see that this page number here is the same as this page number here, which is the same as this page number here. The only difference is that since this is coming from the URL, it's going to be a string. It's not going to be a number. So you need to parse int it, because if we don't, this active here is not going to work because this is going to be a number, this is going to be a string, and it's not equal. So I just parse int it. Let me just, well, my VS Code is using spaces and Sapper uses tabs, but whatever. Whoops. And the second thing is that we need to use the same parameter, which is coming from the URL, on the post by page, right? Because this is the one that gets the page from that post list. But the thing is, this page number, for example, this is 2, but indexes start at 0. So this is gonna need to be page dot params dot page number -1, right? Since this is JavaScript, it's gonna just convert this string to number and remove 1 from it. But if you want to be type safe, you can just parse int it as well, or maybe even put this before the return here, for example. I'm not gonna do that because, well, let's find the way it is. This is JavaScript, right? So whenever we do this, we save, you see that the active is right, the posts are right, and the numbers are right. So this is like proper pagination. And the biggest feature we're having here is that we can just come here and do npm run export, which is the way that Sapper takes the Svelte components and renders into HTML in plain HTML. And we can open Sapper, and we're gonna have this export folder with blog inside, and you see that each post has its own folder with an index.html inside with the posts. But the thing is, we now have the index.html for the blog, which is gonna be just, well, you see that the styles don't work and the JavaScript doesn't work because I'm not serving this page, I'm just opening the HTML file. But you see that I don't need JavaScript for this. It just rendered the HTML, right? It just rendered this as HTML. The same thing for our page to index.html. So you see that everything is right here. So if you just export this and put it on Netlify or GitHub Pages or whatever, you're just gonna need to worry about inputting more posts and everything will work accordingly. The only thing that, well, in my personal blog, the thing that I want to do, that I'm doing right now, is instead of having this posts list as a JSON, as a JavaScript object, in fact, I'm gonna use Markdown. So, but this is too much for this video, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. And yeah, this is the way to make 100% dynamic but 100% static paginated blogs with Sapper. Of course, this is a proof of concept, but this code here is almost everything you need. So yeah, that's it. Probably the ordering you can change, but that's about it. So yeah, I hope you liked this. I hope it was useful, and if it was, just leave a like, and I'll see you next time.